I kind of chimed in on this, the previous video, but the Clippers seem to be, not in favor or devastated by this loss specifically against the Phoenix Suns, because that's one of those teams I guess they feel like they should, beat up on. One of those teams they feel like they just need to, prove that they're better than, and put the nail in the coffin against a team like that, because they have history with one another. In the bubble, actually, I think Phoenix Suns, actually, Devin Booker hit a game-winning shot against the Clippers in the bubble before the actual tournament part of it started, the playoff part of it started. And there's history with, Paul George and Devin Booker. And, when Patrick Beverley was on the Clippers, there definitely was history between Devin Booker and him, from he breaking Devin Booker's nose in the playoffs, getting under his skin, playing him, very well defensively, I might add. And there's just a lot of history, the Chris Paul thing, with Patrick Beverley when he pushed him. It's a lot of history, very weird history between these two teams. And I feel like anytime the Clippers play the Suns, they definitely want to make an example out of them, and vice versa, and the Suns got the best of the Clippers, in last night's game, and Ty Lue was furious over it. Ty Lue really just gave his thoughts about how, they didn't play defensively the way they were supposed to. They didn't play the game the way they were supposed to. They didn't play at the level that he thought that they should. And I said something about this earlier about inconsistency. Paul George having one night of 40, next night dropping 16. It's just not good enough. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, if Kawhi Leonard comes off the bench for several games this season, then that means Paul George, has to be, he doesn't have to drop 40 points every game, but he at least needs to be more consistent. So if he can give them 22 to 25 points per game consistently, then, then the Clippers are in business, because they're getting that consistently every night, no matter whether Kawhi's in the starting lineup or not. And it doesn't matter who they're playing against. They're getting that every single night from Paul George, which I know he's very capable of doing that. So not too concerned about that, unless, it goes a stretch amount of time where he's inconsistent, but I don't think he's going to be. I think he'll definitely pick up in that area. But my point is this, with him specifically, there is there's just a situation where, you look at this and you be like, well, the Clippers, this is only like game 3 of the season for the Clippers, and they got a lot of ways to go. And you listen to Yahoo Sports and read some of those LA Times, some of those things, some of those reports, the first thing they come out with is saying that, this can basically kind of like, damage their title hopes and all that type of stuff. Don't believe none of that cap. This is just game 3 or 4 of the season. It's not even, they ain't even played 30 games or 40 games of the season yet. They ain't even played half the season yet. And they're already trying to, put out reports about the Clippers that you could read on Google or wherever you choose to. You can read everywhere, and that they're trying to say, oh, this could stop the Clippers title hopes. And then, like I said, there are some things that I see that can, but I mean, losing against the Phoenix Suns is not, what's stopping their title hopes. The things that I was saying that the Clippers, are inconsistent in, and those type things, I was saying those things before they lost to the Phoenix Suns, so it's not because they lost to the Phoenix Suns the reason why their title hopes might be in jeopardy of or some of the reports you might read if you go on Yahoo Sports or any one of those sites to hear about the Clippers or anything like that. It's not because of that. It's more or less just because of, like I said, what I said before the season. And I've already pointed these things out. Playing that small ball against certain teams is not going to work for the Clippers, because if you play small ball against certain teams and they have a high, and hypothetically, let's say they have a high-powered offense, you know what I'm saying, or a offense that's very adequate, even though they're not playing small ball, that's going to be a problem for the Clippers. That means they have to make adjustments in the game. And a lot of times making adjustments in the game is good, but it's only good when you can make adjustments and come back in the game and win it. It's not good when you have to make adjustments and you find yourself down, fighting an uphill battle that you can't win because you're down too many points, or the team has the momentum on their side and it's not on your side. So this is what the the Clippers have to realize. It's all about matchups. And this is what Ty Lue has to understand. Ty Lue gets stubborn at times because he wants to just show the world, oh, I can just win with small ball because I got that much talent. No, that's not how it works. Sometimes you have to make adjustments and go and play big depending on the opponent that you're playing against. And the last couple seasons, every time Zubac has played against somebody like a DeAndre Ayton or somebody like that, he's gotten the best of them in rebounds, points, and block shots. You know what I'm saying? DeAndre Ayton just plays the position overall a little bit better than Zubac does on a consistent basis. Now in the playoffs, DeAndre Ayton is not the player they think he should be in the playoffs, but in the regular season, DeAndre Ayton is he can play. He's a monster. You know what I'm saying? He has a lot of good moments for this Phoenix Suns team. So like I said, I'm not going to harp on the loss too much because it's only one game and it's only like game 3 or 4 of the season. But regardless of that, the Clippers definitely need to look into that small ball issue that they have. Because like I said, a lot of times it's going to work because they got so much scoring and so much depth. It's good when the jump shot is falling. But the problem with that is when you're playing small ball, when that jump shot isn't falling and you have to revert back to playing big boy basketball, are the Clippers going to be able to revert to that and translate over to that when needed and still be effective enough to win? Because sometimes when you play, when you play small ball a lot, what it could do is it throws off your rhythm of, okay, we could switch and go play big now. Yeah, but see, because you play small ball so much, the players aren't amped up or playing to the level that they could, when you switch up the style of play because they're not used to it, because they have to try to revert back to something as a plan B, something that they don't use often. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I said the Clippers should be kind of like, I feel like they should play, big boy basketball, big man basketball. I feel like they should play big more because they have Zubac in the middle, and he can have a lot of nights where he can get you a lot of extra offensive rebounds. And then, you got the Moses Brown guy, he can get you extra offensive rebounds. I feel like they should play more big style basketball because they have some bigs with all those wings that they have and scorers that they have. I feel like that would be better for them. Now, I understand why, Ty Lue wants to play small basketball because he has so much scoring and he feels like they have so much scoring all around the board. It's going to make them lethal either way. You know what I'm saying? Because they play small, they can outscore a lot of teams, whereas teams might out-rebound them, but they're definitely liable to outscore them because they have more talent offensively. But like I said, that could backfire on the Clippers because depending on who you play when you go into a 7-game series in the playoffs, you can be stubborn and play small ball, but if it doesn't call for that, you need to make an adjustment. And that's where I think Ty Lue can hurt the Clippers at times, where he can be stubborn and stick with what he thinks because that's just the way of life to him. But what he has to realize is you need to learn to make adjustments based upon the matchup. And that's the way it's going to have to be done. When Phil Jackson and all those coaches back in the day, Phil Jackson coached the Lakers and the Bulls and all that stuff. And I know it's back in the day. It doesn't really, refer to this style of basketball now. But my point is, back in the day when Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, all of them was winning championships with Phil Jackson as their head coach. The reason why they won championships with him because he made adjustments according to whoever they played. Now, of course, the starting lineups were the same, in the regular season for the most part, and he would make adjustments here and there, throw people in starting lineups just to see every now and then to experiment. But in the playoffs, he knew exactly what his approach was, and he knew how to counteract everything people threw at him. There were many times where he would take a power forward out the starting lineup like a Horace Grant and swap him out with somebody else, maybe put in Dennis Rodman in his position for the moment and then switch Rodman to the 5, to guard other players. And this is what I'm talking about. Coaches who win multiple championships, coaches who really understand the process of winning championships in a high fashion, they make adjustments according to what they see. They don't live off their stubbornness just to prove a point to the media and the fans. Like when you think about Greg Popovich on the Spurs, where Kawhi Leonard came from, the adjustments he always made were feasible. The big three were in there, but there were times where he would make changes to the lineup to where he would tweak the lineup to where he can, use somebody like a Tiago Splitter or something like that to be an extra big body in there to crash the boards, get extra rebounds while Tim Duncan was in there. And it made them a lot more superior because they were getting extra offensive rebounds, which, Tiago Splitter was decent at. And, Tim Duncan was just Tim Duncan. He was just, the best player on the team. But it actually made them a lot more deadlier because you got somebody in there that's good at getting offensive rebounds specifically. And you got somebody in there that's good in the paint who can score the way Tim Duncan can and control the game the way he can. So it made them deadly. And the point I'm trying to make is, to correlate that with the Clippers, Ty Lue has enough depth on his team to do things like that. And he has to start realizing when you play certain matchups and certain teams, you got to exploit them. You can't let your stubbornness get in the way. Oh, we're going to play small ball throughout, and this is how we're going to do. Even though we're down by 15, we'll figure out a way to come back. Yeah, that's fine, but it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you really have to make that adjustment gameplay style for the team overall, and it works better in your favor depending on who you play. And this is the thing I want to pay attention to with Ty Lue going forward this season, because I think that it can help the Clippers if he makes the adjustment when needed, or it can hurt the Clippers if he's going to be stubborn and just stick with small ball, knowing that a lot of these teams, or some of these teams, got more size than the Clippers, and there's going to be many nights where the Clippers are not going to be able to outscore everybody, because like I said, really when you play small ball, it's really to just be the most dominant team on the floor by scoring more than the other team. You see what I'm saying? Because when you play small ball, you got more shooters. So that means you're apt to score more points than the other team. You're liable to blow the other team out more because you're playing small ball basketball, where this is the era for it. But at the same time, you have all the shooters, for that style of play. And as I said before, I think that, that works at times, but then at times you have to make adjustments. I mean, the Warriors had to do it last year, when they won the championship, against the Celtics. They had to do it during the playoffs. I mean, you have to be able to switch it up. You can't, stay playing small ball the whole time, because like I said, there are times where certain matchups call for different things to be done. And I just hope that Ty Lue doesn't allow his stubbornness to get in the way, because this is their year to really, be, something big. And for that to happen, everybody has to stay healthy for one, but also the coach has to be willing to make sacrifices and adjustments himself, not just the players. See, the players have to make a sacrifice because some nights it could be John Wall's night, it could be Kawhi, it could be PG's. They got kind of like a big three now. So, I mean, it's not really, a situation where, one guy is the focal point. They got enough, talent to where they can spread the wealth there. But the point is, like I said, Ty Lue just, the stubbornness has to go. He has to understand, do what's necessary for the matchup. And playing the Phoenix Suns the last couple seasons, DeAndre Ayton has pretty much almost dominated Zubac for the most part. There's been a few games here and there where Zubac played decent, played up to the level somewhat, to DeAndre Ayton. But DeAndre Ayton really, Zubac is just not really somebody that really bothers him like that. I mean, like I said, the numbers may not always say it, when he plays Zubac, but he plays with more of an edge than Zubac does. So even when DeAndre Ayton struggles against the Clippers, to me, he still plays harder than Zubac. Zubac has nights where he plays hard, then he has nights where he plays casually, to me. And that's the difference between him and a lot of other centers in the league. If they're not scoring or they're not contributing, they're still playing with more of a force and playing with more of an impact for their team rather than what Zubac does. That's the reason why Zubac is not getting paid money like a DeAndre Ayton will, probably, if whenever he signs his contract, or if he already did sign his contract, he's not going to get a contract like DeAndre Ayton will. DeAndre Ayton will get probably like a 4-year, $80 million contract, whereas Zubac will get a 2 or 3 year contract for $30 million, like he did this offseason. He's just not on that level. He doesn't play on that level enough, to command a presence in the paint. He doesn't do it consistently anyway. So this is my point. The Clippers, they can play either style, big boy basketball, small basketball. Either way, they can play both. Ty Lue's going to have to make the right adjustments at the right time if this team wants to win. And he's going to have to make the right adjustments based upon the matchups, who they're playing from night to night. And like I said, it's not about always changing the lineups. The starting lineup is about making adjustments in game that can help you win. If you see this team is up 10, 15 points with the style of play that they're playing, which is big basketball, well, that's the style you need to switch to, because you have enough depth to do that. You don't need to keep with the small ball if you see it's not working. And this is my point. So hopefully Ty Lue gets better with that as a coach. Hopefully he learns to make sacrifices and the necessary, adjustments as a coach. It's not just on the Clippers, the players, it's on the coaches too. Coaches got to make better decisions. It's not all on the players all the time. Sometimes it's the coach's fault, even though it's not perceived that way. A lot of times it's the best players on the team. Kawhi and PG is their fault why they didn't win. No, it's not their fault all the time. Sometimes it's Ty Lue's fault. Sometimes it's his stubbornness that gets in the way, and sometimes it's his ego that gets in the way. And I'm gonna need him to lose that, throw that in the trash, get it out the window, and do what's best for the team. If you're playing a team like Phoenix, you know that they play half court, big man basketball, because they go through DeAndre Ayton a lot when their offense is stagnant. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times they go through him in the beginning of the game, and then everybody else gets their offense going as the game goes. So if that's the case, then, you need to counteract that. You don't have to go through Zubac, but Zubac should be a focal point in regards to, how you're playing your style of basketball. Because if you need to switch the style up and have shooters on the floor with big bodies in the paint, then that's what you need to do. I mean, according to the matchup of playing against a team like this, even though I still think the Clippers are way better than the Phoenix Suns. If a 7-game series transpired, the Clippers would beat them. That's just the way it is, I believe. But I mean, still, you have to find a way to win these games during the regular season, to build up your confidence and to build that chemistry that you're trying to build. So when the postseason comes, you're ready and prepared for whatever happens. So like I said, this is a pass to me. Losing against the Phoenix Suns, it's one loss. It's early in the season. Kawhi is not starting at this point in the season. So, it's really hard to evaluate the Clippers overall as a team. But, we have plenty of time for that going forward. So let's just see what happens. I don't think nothing. I don't think. Nothing's any different for the Clippers. Just move on to the next game, do better next time, make better adjustments, and try to keep everybody healthy and move on with the season. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments in the comment section. Check my other videos if you haven't. And hey, Khaliis out.